Hey guys, welcome to episode 18 of the Performance Advantage podcast. This week we're talking to Cam Langsford, who's the founder of TrainingTilt, a revolutionary training coaching business platform. Cam's also a sub 10 hour Ironman, so he talks to us about, well, a whole bunch of things, including how you can get more likes on social media. Matt got sick after getting back, and I sort of questioned his theory and getting up at 4 a.m. and going for long bike rides in the middle of winter after coming back from summer. But then he gives me a bit of shit for getting lost in my race in the weekend, because one time at a mountain bike race, I got lost and beat him, and he's still upset about it. So that's us for episode 18. Enjoy the show. Welcome to episode 18 of the Performance Advantage podcast. And this week we're speaking to Cam Langsford, founder of TrainingTilt. But in the meantime, Matt, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Well, last week I did that long haul flight back to New Zealand, and obviously I was jet lagged. And we talked about this last week in our traveling episode. Traveling was super fresh in my mind, and we talked about some tips and tricks of how to avoid getting sick and how to make traveling easier. Well, would you believe it? I got sick. So I got back, and I was obviously really jet lagged. So I would get up when I got up, which would be about 4 or 5 in the morning, and just head out for a nice long ride. And felt fine for a couple days doing that, and then I just had this massive sore throat, and took 2 days off, but we're feeling pretty good today. So we're back at it.
So does that sound like a smart thing to do, Matt?
It
like
didn't sound
come back, wake up at 4 a.m. and go for a few hours on the bike?
Well, I mean, considering I fell asleep at like 7, so I slept 7 to 4, 9 hours. That's pretty good. And I wasn't tired anymore. I just figured I'd get up. But one of the things, like, even if you're feeling pretty good and, like, I felt fine riding, I actually felt great riding, it's still, you can still get run down. And that's one of the things I really didn't consider. So I don't know how to stop it, really, because there's going to be lots of times when you travel, and, what are you going to do? Take 3 days off every end? I don't know. I don't really know what the secret is, so maybe I was just could do better with improving my...
What do you mean you don't know what the secret is? That's what our whole episode was last week.
The secret to not getting sick? I don't know, because I actually felt totally fine. So it could have been, maybe some germs floating around in my house or something like that. I don't know. It could have nothing to do with travel. That's what I'm actually leaning towards. Nothing to do with the travel. I just ended up getting a sore throat for one day.
Yeah, you got the man flu, so it probably wasn't actually that bad.
No, actually it wasn't that bad. I just cried most of the day. But I was fine.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that sounds like you've been up to a lot. I guess it hasn't been that long since we did our last episode on Friday.
Yeah.
Wednesday morning.
Yeah, we had a late one last week, but we're back on track. So how was your week, Will? Didn't you have a running race or something?
I did, and I forgot to mention that. So it was my first race back after weeks off and getting back into running. And it was just amazing. I have not felt that good in so long. It was awesome. Like, I started the race, so I was going there to have fun and just get into it. It was a local race up Rainbow Mountain, and a whole bunch of the trail running club were there, and I was like, yeah, this should be heaps of fun. But then I started the race, went out hard, and then thought to myself, I haven't thought of a plan for this race. So pretty much every time I race, regardless if it's weekend sort of club run or bike or whatever, or a big huge event that I've been building up to for ages, I always like to have a goal, something to target within the race. Within the sort of weekend races, the sort of non-important ones, it's generally something around mindset or something like that, pacing maybe, but I hadn't thought of one. And so I was off the front running way too hard for a 17k run, and thought, oh man, I haven't thought of a goal, and it's getting really hard because I'd just gone out and tried to get to the front of the race. And then I thought, actually, I just want to enjoy this. and I'm not going to enjoy it if I keep thrashing myself over the first few Ks. So I chilled out for a bit, and then, we just cruised through the trails. It was awesome, and headed up the mountain, which is about 3 Ks up. I'm actually not sure of the elevation, a few hundred meters. So I chugged up there, smashed it down, and then started feeling really good. And I could see second place. I was in third, and I started really putting the hammer down. I could see he was hurting. I wasn't sure how far ahead first place was, but I knew he wasn't that far away because I saw him at the turnaround point at the top of the hill. And it was a 17k race, and then my watch beeps for 17k's, and I'm nowhere near the finish. I think, uh-oh. And then I see a sign for the longer marathon that was going on at the same time. 42k last lap with an arrow. And I thought, I don't think I'm supposed to be on this lap. And so I could still see the guy ahead of me, and he was still running hard. So I was like, okay, I'll just keep pushing on. Then my watch beeps for 18k for a 17k race. And I thought, oh no, I've gone the wrong way. So I had to backtrack to get back to where I knew the course was from where we'd come out to get back to the lake where the start point was. And luckily, I had enough of a buffer on third and fourth place that I could get back on track, still ahead of them, and then push on to the finish, and actually ended up taking the win. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was my race.
That's not like you to take a wrong turn.
Yeah, see, Matt said that on Instagram.
Yep.
And this is in reference to, in a similar situation where I was not the instigator of going the wrong way, I went the wrong way in our mountain bike race.
Yeah, you seem to be making a thing of that, so maybe you should just work on your next goal should be just make sure that you can, that you're going the right way. Understanding
the course.
Yeah.
To be fair, the sign was down. Like a lot of people went the wrong way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but you should know the course, and that's what I said on my social media posts. That it's up to us to know the course. It's up to the event organizer to mark it, but it's also up to us to know it because, when they run events here in the Rotorua Forest, often the locals love to turn the signs around.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
It's not funny.
No, I'm just kidding. If I had a nickel for every time I've gone off course and got totally lost, I'd have a few nickels. Yeah. And, I remember one time I had to be picked up by a park ranger. I just had no idea where I was. I was so off track that I wouldn't have made it. So there was a guy driving around the forest, and I just got to ride back with him. Otherwise, I probably would have died. It was like, I was out there.
I don't know about that.
I was out there, but made it anyway. So
yeah. So what else? Well, I guess a big takeaway from me was like we talked about it where I'd had a couple weeks off after my marathons, and then a few weeks of what I would consider light training. The first week was maybe 30k's of running. Normally I do over 100k's, so that's pretty chill. Then it was like 40 or 50, and then 60 odd, and last week was about 70. But I felt so good. Like, you kind of think, oh, I'm going to put on heaps of weight and lose every ounce of fitness I've ever gained. But I just felt so good and so fresh and loose, and was able to push when I wanted to and chill when I wanted to. So, yeah, it just reiterates the value of taking some time out.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to get a refresher in that every once in a while, because sometimes you get so caught up in the grind, they forget how good rest is. And
how you're meant to feel when you enjoy your sport and training is going well.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it. We might as well get into chatting with our guest, Matt?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so today we've got our special guest, Cam Langsford from TrainingTilt. Cam, is it Langsford or Langford?
Langsford, yeah, with an S.
Okay, yeah, so on our notes I've put that down wrong.
Oh, that's all right.
So Cam is the founder of TrainingTilt, and I'll get Cam to describe what TrainingTilt is. But as a bit of a background, Cam was a semi-professional rugby player. Be keen to hear about that. And a full stack developer, and I had to Google this to figure out what it was, but it is a front end and back end web platform developer that does CSS, JavaScript, HTML, all of it. So that was pretty cool. And was led into TrainingTilt to create a software as a service platform. So all these terms were very new to me. So I'm really excited to have Cam on and hear about, well, I guess the behind the scenes of creating TrainingTilt. So Cam, welcome.
Thank you.
So yeah, first off, tell us and our listeners, what is TrainingTilt?
So this is a question I always struggle with, which isn't really a good sign. But I'll start by saying what it's not. It's not like another version of Training Peaks or Final Surge or one of those other training platforms.
Yep.
So it does have those features, possibly a little bit on the more basic side than those, but it's really a suite of business and some marketing tools specifically for endurance coaches. So you can build training plans, coach your athletes one-on-one, but you can also run your entire website through it, and you can take payments through it, offer multiple levels of coaching. So you could have an online only plan that you can offer to athletes, or you can do one-on-one coaching, or a combination of all of those things. And then you can just use it to like as a CRM or like a customer relationship management system for your athletes. So you can have all of their contact details in there as well. So I built it mainly because I saw some coaches struggling with trying to put something like that together, to do like e-commerce, to be able to sell stuff, and they would end up having to have like 3 or 4 different systems. So they would have Training Peaks, and then like a website, and then like an online store, and then maybe use PayPal for their payments, or take, do bank transfers, and then they would spend a whole lot of time chasing around all of those different things, and then most people would just give up. So so that's sort of the problems that I was looking at solving with the system. And still, I get a lot of people, and I think it's probably because I gave it a name that was too similar to Training Peaks, so everyone just directly compares it, but it's really a much different platform. And a lot of my coaches use Training Peaks as well as TrainingTilt anyway. So it's probably more complementary. And if you do some sort of one-on-one coaching, it's possible to do it without Training Peaks. It just depends on how deep you want to go into the analytics. So that's it, really. Not in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool, Cam, because I think what maybe we should give a bit of context for Will and I both use TrainingTilt. So Will has been using it for a lot longer than me, and Will actually put me onto it, and he's been using it, for a couple of years until he got really serious about his TrainingTilt site. So that's the Endurance Training Hub. And then I also have one that I've been working on with a bit of Will's help in the background too, Smart MTB Training. And we really see it as something that's good for us to like reach a lot more athletes, because the one-on-one coaching takes us a lot of time, but then at the same time, it's hard for us to kind of market ourselves to athletes that we can provide a training plan, just because Training Peaks doesn't make that such a good business model for us.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a good way to put it as well. So, a lot of coaches who I talk to separate those two different types of business models and think they need to do one or the other. But it's actually, you can do both. So if you have a business model that allows you to sell, like resell some of the things that you've created over and over again to different athletes, that can become like a more, I won't say passive income because there's no such thing, a more passive income than your one-on-one coaching, which then allows you to be more or you can pick and choose. Like you might be able to coach a lot fewer one-on-one athletes, and spend more time with each athlete and pick and choose what type of athletes you want to choose. So that's always a problem with this. If you're a services only business, that you always will run out of time. So you set your ceiling of revenue reasonably low. Whereas if you can offer like some online memberships, the ceiling of what's the max revenue that you can earn based on your time becomes much higher. And there's a lot of work involved in getting that to that point. But yeah, it just expands the scope of what your business can become.
Yeah, with the like all of those issues you said you tried to I guess solve or encompass within TrainingTilt have really I guess solved them. Like for me, you talk about having Training Peaks, which is a more in-depth training platform for one-on-one coaching. It's definitely not the best for just sorting out a training plan and having that as is. And then you have to figure out how people are going to pay you, how they're definitely going to pay you, and then you got your website, and then you're trying to sell something else, and it all becomes like very complex. But with your system, I've been able to create the Endurance Training Hub and initially have it as the Performance Advantage website, which is now becoming more elite and niche, which I'll move off to the side, and just have the Endurance Training Hub, which has been able to capture so many more athletes, like such a large, like I guess, group and ability level. And everyone can come in with their different focuses, triathlon, cycling, running. And whereas if I'm just trying to market myself as an individual coach, it just makes it so hard to reach that level of, I guess, population.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also look at it as like sometimes I'm working with an athlete for a couple of months and I'm like, is this really the best way for me to help them by them paying me monthly for one-on-one coaching? Like, actually, maybe what this athlete needs is they need a training plan that, maybe I check in on once in a while, or they have the option to talk to me. So where I see TrainingTilt also fitting in is it helps you give the athletes what they actually need instead of only being able to offer them what you do.
Yeah, and I always talk about it as value. So everyone, so a lot of coaches I talk to don't want to do something that isn't of what they consider the highest quality, which is one-on-one coaching. But that doesn't take a lot of the different factors in, like how much time does the athlete have? What is their budget? Do they actually like being told what to do on a weekly basis?
Yeah, a lot of them don't. A lot of athletes don't.
Yep. So it's totally like, what do they need, and then what is the exchange? What is the exchange in value? So it's no point paying a few $100s a month if they're not going to utilize it, or they don't want all that feedback. So it's about finding that match in a few different price points that work for both sides, and there's a good exchange of value. So you get back what you put in, and everyone's happy. Not everyone's happy. Not everyone will be happy with one-on-one coaching. So it's not about what is the best way to get an athlete to the race in the best shape. It's more about what's the best way to get an athlete to their goal in a way that makes them happy.
Yeah, one thing I sort of realized, a lot of the time I thought it was all price based, and for some point it is, but a lot of it is also the commitment and energy availability. A lot of athletes have sort of said to me like, "Oh, I'd love to get your help, but I'm just not training enough to justify that level of commitment."
Yeah.
financially and with the energy and the relationship. And I thought, oh, okay, so the price isn't as important as like what they perceive to be their, ability to commit. And that's where those different price points and memberships and things are super helpful for people like us in a business that is very transient.
Yeah, yeah, and that brings up the other point as well, that people move between those level of commitments throughout a year as well, or even throughout the life cycle of them in endurance sport. So you'll have some athletes that just come in and want to do one big race, for an Ironman, for example. So they'll come in, train for a year with you, and be gone. And then others will be, they might do it for 6 to 10 years worth of Ironman, but they'll come in like you want to be one-on-one coach for 3 months of the year, and then if you don't have another level for them to go to, they might just be gone for 9 months of the year and not be part of your business model. But you could shift people from one-on-one down to an online membership as and when their needs change. So sometimes you see like an athlete being coached one-on-one by someone, and then they'll do the big race and they'll finish up for the season. And then in the off season, they might get like coached, or they might get into some other social training group, and then get in touch with another coach. And then when the season rolls around again, they might end up going to that coach, not because they weren't happy with the previous coach, but that's because of the social circle they're in now.
Yeah.
So those online memberships, and even like a local membership that isn't that high price point, can keep people in your circle, in your audience, and build more loyalty than just being a one-on-one coach for 3 months and then do whatever they want for 9 months. So that's another sort of plus of having different price points and different options for people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then, like, if anyone has been on my site, they've generally complimented me, and I've made it out like the Endurance Training Hub is something that I've created, but I've just been able to leverage your platform. And so the people who've been on it or are members, they've seen the huge array of features. Like, how did you create this, and how long did it take?
Yeah, so like I had this idea probably back in 2011, I think. It might have even been 2010, when there was a specific coach offering an online platform. So like you were saying before, I probably would not be wanting a one-on-one coach because of the level of commitment I probably would never be ready to put into the sport. So if I was to have one-on coach, that accountability would probably mean that I would put too much time into it that I could afford. So like I bought one of his online plans, and then I went into his online platform, and it just wasn't very good. So like all his content was really good.
Yeah.
So all his stuff was really good. Like I really liked the training plans, but it was like I think it was a 16 or 20 week plan, and you'd print it out in a PDF, and it was week 1 to 20. And then I would have to, and I reused it for about 3 different Ironmans. And then I would have to print it out each time and like write the dates on the top of each column of the printout, because there was no interactivity around, like you just bought the 20-week plan. So then then I'd have this big printout, and then I would lose track of which week I was on, because there was no way to figure that out. So I just thought, and then he had lots of cool videos and articles, and I just thought, man, I could do a much better job at building something like this. And just so he could have a platform like to leverage all of that great content and like share his knowledge, and just make it a little bit easier to use his tools.
Yeah.
So I started building it, and then I was working full time when I built it. So I basically just got up early in the morning and worked on it for a few hours, and then after work, and then in the weekends. So I did that for quite a few years, actually. And so it was pretty tough, but I was enjoying it because I probably wasn't getting that much out of the job that I had at the time. I was getting a bit bored, and you don't get to make the direction that the software goes when you're working for someone else. You do what you're told, pretty much.
And that was your job at the software. You were working in software development.
Yeah. So I was just working for a software company, and and it was a way for me to learn some new skills and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about this, Cam, like your background. Like you say, like you're a developer, and then you came to TrainingTilt. But I'm kind of curious if we dig a little deeper into your background, maybe more of the Cam Langsford story.
Yeah, so I was actually just on the weekend. I went back to my rugby team in the Waikato, the club rugby team I played for. So we had a reunion because we won like the club championship 2 years in a row back 20 years ago, 98 and 99. So I finished high school 95, and then I think 97 I started playing rugby for the senior rugby club in my hometown, which was a very good club.
What club was that?
Hautapu.
Oh, no way. Yeah. I was, because I grew up in Cambridge, so I was a Leamington club member.
Oh, right.
So obviously pretty big Battle of the Bridge rivalry there.
Yeah, that's coming up, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Hautapu was incredibly strong through the 90s.
Yeah, so we had like a bunch of Waikato players and maybe even 3 or 4 All Blacks when I was playing for that club. So that was, rugby is very competitive at club level in New Zealand, and that was just when the professional era had just started. Maybe professional, I'm not sure the exact years, it might have been 93 and 94. So when I was playing first 15 rugby at high school, I wanted to be a professional rugby player. That was sort of my goal, and I didn't really worry about too much else. So I played club rugby, and then I played age group rugby for Waikato under 21s. And then when I graduated university, I went on my OE, but at the same time organised like a semi-professional contract just out in Hertfordshire, just outside of London, where I played for like a third division club there who had all amateurs except three New Zealanders who were getting paid a little bit of money, like a match fee, but I was working as well. So that was a reasonably good experience, but my aspirations to be a professional rugby player did not match my actions in terms of the amount of work that I put into training. So that sort of fizzled out a little bit, and then I fell into IT just through this admin job that I was doing. I got asked to work on the IT help desk, and then from then on, I learned a lot of stuff, and then moved back to New Zealand in 2005. And I thought, instead of doing I was working on servers and like support and stuff, instead of doing that, I wanted to make my own things. So I taught myself software development, and that's when I pretty much became a full stack developer. When I moved back to New Zealand, took like a junior developer job. I think I was 28 and my boss was like 21. I think,
so you taught yourself?
Yeah. So I guess my biggest skills is problem solving. So software development is now really all about that. There's so many tools that make things much easier to do now than what they used to be. So, you don't need a computer science degree to figure out software development because the tools are so good. But you do really need those problem solving skills. Like how do you figure out how to solve a business problem and just using software. So it's not like a magic, when computers first came out and people knew what they were, there was these people who knew how they worked and stuff, and they were like magicians. like
Yeah,
in the
that's how
90s.
I see you. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So it's quite good that people think that, because they, uh, they don't question your knowledge. If they think you're that, they just think you're smart. But it's not always the case. But yeah. So it's I don't. I've never been like a computer nerd or anything. I really see it as a way to solve problems that people might have, and because when you if you're just a software developer and you really like the computer science and writing the code, it would be very difficult to turn that into a business.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just because it's so much about like getting product market fit. So like creating something that people really need and really solves a problem that they're having. Because if you were really into computer science, you'd create some really techo thing that solves a really difficult problem that may not really need to be solved, or
Oh, like a brake power meter or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
yeah, maybe. But time will tell with those, I guess, to see whether it's sometimes there's those innovative products that solve a problem that people don't even know they have, and then it turns out to be great. And then other times they'll just fade away because it's not causing anyone enough pain for them to pay for it. So
Yeah, if there's
Yeah.
something that's a big enough problem, there's someone out there that's going to figure it out, and someone out there that's going to pay some money to make sure that people have it. And some things take longer than others, I guess. But the good thing is that there's, developers out there that can fix a problem.
yeah,
Yeah.
They
So
know more
what sorry to interrupt, but what Matt and I have talked about with like your platform and trying to compare it to the brake power meter, where that is a problem people, I guess, don't really understand that they have yet because they've never been able to measure braking. And as sort of like your system, how are you able to get the adoption from saying, oh, this is an issue that this guy has, I'll work on something. But then was it easy to convince other people to sign up?
so yeah, so the right people. So uh, what you have to do when you create any product is you need to decide who you're going to sell it to first before you build the product. So I didn't necessarily do that very well when I first created it. So the people, if I think back and think, right, the people who I thought would be ideal for this product, they see it and they understand straight away. So I get customers like that who sign up and then really understand it. But then I get some coaches who don't necessarily understand the problem that I'm trying to solve, and maybe because they're not even interested in it. So there's a lot of coaches that all they want to do is just one-on-one coaching, and they're completely happy with that. So I get some of them looking at the site and then they don't see the value in it. So they're just thinking, oh, it's a bit more expensive than Training Peaks, but it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that Training Peaks do. So in some ways you need to be able to like tell. So I do that a lot. I just tell a lot of people who come to the site asking questions that probably Training Peaks is a better fit for them. So otherwise they just get in there and they get overwhelmed and they think they don't understand why there's all these features because they don't need them. So it depends on the aspirations and goals of the coach that comes along as well. So that's really important. So you create your products for your people. You don't is better than trying to find some people for the products that you've created.
Yeah, right. And so then how were you able to leave your job? Like that must have been a bit of a process.
Yeah. So it took me a long time. So when I first started building it, it took me probably 3 years before I even really started trying to sell the software, and mainly just because I was doing it part-time and it took me a while to build it. But also I didn't. So most of the time you come from a software development background, you just think that you'll build something and then you'll put it on the internet and then some people will find it and sign up to it, but it doesn't work that way at all. So once I even launched it, I had to learn a lot about marketing, social media, sales, all of that stuff, because people don't just come to your site, understand what it is, sign up, start paying you, and then you're on your way. So I slowly was building up a customer base, mainly from referrals to begin with, and then I started doing some marketing. But I was working full time at the same time, so it was pretty challenging. So at some point, I think 2013, I quit my job and went contracting, which is not that hard to do as a software developer because there's always plenty of demand for software developers. And then slowly over time, I cut my contracting down as I made relationships with the people I was working with. So I went from 5 days a week to 4, and then to 3, and then I even just went to 1 day a week. And then I got an opportunity to be like the chief technical officer for a startup, which I only needed to commit 10 to 20 hours a month. So I took that opportunity, which meant that I was really like almost 4 full days a week on the TrainingTilt business, and only one day doing that sort of thing. And then so now I'm mostly, apart from that, mostly full time on the business. So it's a long process, and it's not linear. So you really need to be prepared to go backwards before you can go forwards. And there's this podcast I listen to called the Tropical MBA, and they talk about, so it's a podcast for people who want to do online businesses. Really, they call it the 1,000 day rule. So if you quit your full-time job and go full-time on your business, on average, you should expect not to be able to replace your income for 1,000 days. So that's pretty much 3 years. And that's sort of where I'm tracking at the moment. So I think where a lot of people fall down is they don't have the patience to do that. So don't want to quit like a decent paying job to go backwards. And then after 3 months, they might wonder whether it's going to work. But you really need to wait a little bit longer than that. And that's sort of where I am at the moment, where now it's starting to look like that I'll be able to replace that full-time income. So I've been full-time probably for about 2 years. So hopefully get there another year and I'll replace it. And then of course, when you have your own business, you, as opposed to a job, you can, like the sky's the limit, really. You don't have that fixed income. Like I'll probably, in this job, I'll probably never earn more than X dollars. Whereas when you have your own business, you can scale it a lot further than that. So as time goes by, you can just keep going.
Yeah, wow, 1,000 days, that's a long time. And that's because I left my job 6 months ago, and that's something I need to keep in mind, because you always like patience. Like you have to be patient, and I keep telling myself, just be patient, be patient, keep working. You know what the vision is, you know what you need to do, just do it.
Yep.
But 1,000 days, that's a lot of days.
I mean, Matt and I just pretty much console each other and like, look, man, your product's really good. We can do this.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing to hear, like, because you get to the point and you're like, oh man, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
you always look at everyone else and you're like, oh, that guy or girl, they had it so easy. They pretty much just walked out of their job into this sweet gig, and now they got everything sorted. And that's the way it looks from the outside. Yeah,
exactly. And it's never, things are, and especially on social media, things are either not as good as they seem or not as bad as they seem. So when people are complaining a lot, it's probably never as bad as what they make out. And when people look like they're being really successful, it probably wasn't as easy as what it seems. Especially when you get through all of the tough stuff, it's really easy to forget how hard it was. So now when people do get to the point where they've been successful, even they probably forget all of the really difficult, tough times where they thought it wasn't going to work. So yeah, and you never should look at people who've been successful and think, oh, how come I haven't achieved that yet? Or because it's not really that helpful to think of things that way, and you really just need to keep going. So it's patience and consistency. And I think I was saying to Will the other day, it's just it's like training for endurance sport. If you're not patient and consistent, then you shouldn't expect good results. But a lot of times people do wonder why their results aren't great when they don't have consistency or patience.
Yeah. So that's one of the things that I'm wondering, Cam, because it sounds like you've been really busy for a really long time. And how were you able to manage your own training? Were you still training once you started to do all these things?
Yeah, so up until I was probably doing more training while I was working full-time and doing the business than I am now. I'm not too sure how I did it. I think I used to get up early, not sleep very much, and yeah, I don't even know. But yeah, so we did it, my partner Nikki and I, we were doing like probably 2 Ironmans a year between 2010 and 2014. So
And you were good. Like I saw you had a 9 hours 30.
that was a they halved the swim that time
Oh
round.
no, they didn't. No.
Yeah. So I think I'm that was my best race, unfortunately. So I raced really well. So got a good time. I think it was 9:40 something. But yeah, they cut the swim in half. But I think I was looking at around maybe 10 hours. I think I'm a 10-hour Ironman fit in going. But yeah. So and then but then I started to struggle. So I think you can hang on for a few years doing that sort of thing, but then it starts to affect you a bit. So the training sort of gave way to the business at that point. But I do have a lot more. So I guess I used to get up in the morning, maybe about 4, like do some work, and then go and do training, and then go to work, and then maybe do some work at lunchtime, and then come home, do some training, and maybe a little bit more work, and then go to bed. And that was about, that's pretty much my life. And the same in the weekends as well, except with a little bit more training and a little bit less work because I didn't have my day job to go to. But now my day now is much different. So I've improved things a lot because I guess that had a real impact on my mental health as well. Just stress and anxiety, not thinking that you have enough time in the day, and then I would so when I'd wake up at 4 o'clock, I'd check all my emails first, which is the worst thing to do the first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Terrible idea. So, and then I would think about those for the whole day. And then while I was at my other job, even though I couldn't do anything about it. So now when I wake up, I don't turn my phone on, and then I go and have a coffee, go and do some training, come back. Nikki and I will sit around, have another coffee and talk, and I won't check my phone until I sit down at my desk to do my work. And then I'll take a bunch of breaks during the day, and then I might even go doing a bit of surf ski paddling at the moment. So I might go and paddle my surf ski at lunchtime. Beautiful out there on a day like today, blue sky, cold, but
Oh, I guess we didn't mention where you live.
no. So I live in Northcote Point in Auckland. So we live opposite the harbour bridge. So I can actually just walk across the road and go under the bridge and put my boat in, which is amazing. So don't have to worry about putting it on the car and driving somewhere.
I've never heard about this one. What, surf skate skiing?
Surf ski, yeah. So it's like a kayak,
Okay.
but sit on top instead of sit in. So you can fall off and it won't fill up with water. So you can ride surf on swells. So I'm trying to get into some downwind paddling. There's a big race in Hawaii that I want to do where you race from one island to another. And one of my clients, his name's Oscar Chalupski. He's won that race 12 times. So I've been working closely with him, and he's sort of got me motivated. I had a surf ski like 8 years ago or something when I had a knee injury and I did a lot of paddling. And then sold it just because it was too much of a pain to get to the water. It was too busy. So I bought a boat again and I'm doing a bit of that. So
it's a big part of surf lifesaving, Matt, like part of that culture.
Okay.
So you probably, wouldn't never have seen it. I have to
I
show
mean,
you.
I stay as far away from the water as possible, so I would never see it unless I had binoculars. So, yeah. No, that sounds pretty cool, though. It sounds like a good way to stay alive. So that sounds like something I should try.
Yeah, you should. It's nice to be out. It's nice to be out on the water, and but being so near to the city as well.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area, because a lot of people, when they visit New Zealand, the first place they land is Auckland, and they go into the city, and it's just like every other city. And, sometimes they waste too much time there. But you get outside of Auckland City a little bit, and, it's just amazing. Amazing beaches and everything.
Yeah. The Auckland suburbs are just like small towns, really. So, and it's so easy to get to water wherever you are. Most not as easy as just walking across the road, which is nice. But yeah, lots of water.
Yeah, you talk about not turning your phone on. That was something I picked up. I can't remember when, maybe a couple of years ago, and that's something I do now and makes a huge difference.
Yeah, massive.
Like just doing what you need to do, having a coffee, chilling out. Like I talk to my wife, and then otherwise, man, I was just gone. I was just phone on, athlete updates, emails, social media, notifications, and your day just is lit from there.
Yeah. So I always say there's no point knowing what your problems are, because basically that's all so I've figured out that business is solving other people's problems. So you can't complain about that. But what you shouldn't do is expose yourself to those problems before you're in a position to be able to do anything about it, because then you just worry unnecessarily, and then you're not present in anything else you're trying to do, and then you'll end up getting to the end of the day and feeling frazzled and and just not enjoyed anything. So I find that has made a massive difference to my general well-being and happiness throughout each day.
Yeah, that's something that I keep saying I'm going to do. And, I talk to Will about it all the time. I'm part of a business founders group, and we talk about not doing that, and I still do it. So this morning, I turned my phone on and I'm like, all right, straight into it, gonna check my emails, and I had no messages, no emails, the first time in my life that I just didn't have that first thing in the morning. And it was pretty handy. I had a friend staying over, and I didn't actually think about work or anything like that. We just had a few coffees and chatted a bit, and it was really, really cool. So I think it gives me a bit of inspiration to keep the phone off a bit longer, actually.
Yeah. Oh, good. You won't regret it.
Yeah, starting tomorrow. I'm saying it here now. Starting tomorrow, and we'll have to check back next week.
So what would be your recommendation, with people? A lot of people are in the situation you were in, where there's not a lot of time in the day, but they're still training for something like an ultra marathon or an Ironman, and you still got really good results and you got a lot out of your body in that time. But is there something you'd do differently?
Probably it'll just be a little bit more efficient with time. So just we used to travel a bit further to the pool when we first started, and then we'd get stuck in traffic on the way back. So that's when with the squad we were swimming with. So then we decided not to swim with that squad, and we just swam by ourselves, which sometimes it's a bit harder to get motivated swimming by yourself, but it just took a lot of the pressure off time wise. And then riding, did a lot more indoor riding than we did outdoor. So when we first started, we would our weekday rides would all be outside, but you just end up wasting a lot of time especially in the winter, because we did a lot of overseas Ironman, so we were constantly training in the winter. So then you spend like 10 minutes in the morning getting all your winter gear ready and your lights and all of that. So we switched to indoor training, and that made a massive difference. You don't end up like coasting around the streets and stuff, as well as all of the extra time in the beginning and the end. Getting all your gear and finally getting out on the road, and figuring out your front lights not working and all of that sort of stuff. So just being a lot more efficient with your time makes a big difference.
So what's a day in the life of Cam Langsford look like now then?
Yeah, so wake up in the morning, have a coffee, and at the moment I will go to our gym, and then I will do a run. So I'm not running very far at the moment. Like I might run 5 or 6 Ks. And then I'm doing this thing at the moment where I'll go and have a sauna for 20 minutes. So I've got some issues with my joints at the moment, with some arthritis. And then also my doctor suggested that having a sauna every day also helps with anxiety, and I'm finding that's working really well as well. So I find myself really enjoying sitting in the sauna for 20 minutes.
Really?
Not only the sauna itself, but also sitting for 20 minutes, not doing anything. I think that helps relax.
Man, I don't know if I could do that.
And I'm guessing you still haven't looked at your emails, have you?
No. So there's a few hours in the middle of in the start of the day where I don't have much on my mind. I try not to have too much on my mind. So I'm not a sort of person that can sit still. I always feel like I need to be doing something. So getting that 20-minute sauna is actually really valuable to me. So I can just sit there and try not to do anything. So then I will have, after that, I'll meet Nikki and we'll have coffee, and then I'll come home, and then I'll check all my emails.
So what time's that about?
Probably about 8:30 by then.
Oh, okay, so you got a lot done already.
Yeah.
8:30. I was expecting you to say like 10 or 11.
No. So we're still up pretty early, so probably normally get up about 5 and start that off. And then get into my emails, and then I will pretty much write down my goals that I want to get stuff done for the day, and I try and keep that pretty short. I used to have a massive list of things that I wanted to do every day, and then I'd only get through like a third of them, and then you feel a bit disappointed that you only did a third of the things, but it was pretty unrealistic to get them all done anyway. So now I keep my list short, and then I complete most of it. And then I might I always take breaks during the day. So I'll have a coffee, and then I'll walk around the garden, or maybe water the veggie garden. And then I might go for a walk, even if it's just 10 minutes, just walk around the block or something, or walk to the cafe and get a coffee. Then I might go for a paddle at lunchtime. That's what I'm doing at the moment. Or I might used to go for a little run or something like that, just to break the day up a bit. and then I'll come back, work again, and then I will probably put dinner on in time for Nikki to come home, and then we'll sit down and have some dinner. And then we might watch some Netflix to relax.
What are you watching at the moment?
Watching Fear the Walking Dead at the moment.
Okay, I heard of it. Yeah.
So The Walking Dead was my favorite show, and this one is like
I loved it.
Yeah, and this one is the one that's sort of like the side story to that. Another story, it's made by the same people. Another story of a different group of people making their way around the world. So, yeah, I love that. I love the idea of being able to create your own rules, because society doesn't really exist anymore. So you don't have to keep following the rules of society that don't really make any sense.
So if there was a zombie apocalypse right now, would you back yourself?
Yeah,
Are you backing Cam's Langsford to make it through? He'll be like the Rick.
Yeah, totally.
Rick Grimes. Yeah.
So
yeah, same.
Yeah, I would enjoy it. I'd love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some people because you got to pick and choose who you're going to have with you in your squad.
Yeah.
In the zombie apocalypse, and some of your friends, might be like, we're really good friends, but I don't know if we could be together in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly.
I think with some training, Will could be all good, but if it happened today, I don't know. Not sure.
We'll see.
Yeah,
you'd have to see.
Yeah. I'd give him a shot anyway. We're pretty good friends.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty much my day, and then weekends is mostly training, and Nikki and I like to go to open homes to see what things. Yeah, Nikki loves open homes, so we'll go to open homes and like copy other people's renovation ideas, and then think about how we're going to renovate our house and how we're going to. We're quite good at over-capitalizing our properties by spending too much on them. So yeah,
that must be an Auckland thing, Will. You wouldn't understand.
I don't think it's an Auckland thing. I think it's just I think it's a Nikki thing. She loves it.
Yep.
Yeah, my mum will hit a few open homes like around where they live, just to keep an eye on what people have been getting up to.
Yeah.
How they've set it all up. Matt, you definitely have you even been to an open home?
I mean, my parents are real estate agents, so I'm learning a few things. Yeah, I know a bit. So
yeah. So one thing I really wanted to get into, because whenever I talk about my online business and social media presence, people are really interested about how it all plays out behind the scenes. And Cam, you've been in the game a long time, so Matt and I are really keen to hear your thoughts and opinions on social media and reach. And I think it was just recently, was it last week, you did a video on shallow versus deep likes or metrics?
Yeah.
So because I guess for me, what's been really annoying, especially over the last 6 months, is that I was putting stuff on Facebook and Instagram, especially Facebook, and it was getting a lot of interest. People were clicking through, reading my blogs and things. And then it started going down and down and down. And then especially with events, and then especially if I had a link to outside of Facebook, my reach and engagement was really down. And that's where I realized, if I'm not paying, people aren't seeing stuff.
Yeah, so it's partly the platforms that are doing that, and then also partly the sheer number of people that are online sharing things now. So it's so people take guesses at the algorithms and what's happening with the algorithms. So the social media platforms, they want people to stay on platform. So if you say if you have a video, they want you to post your video on the platform and keep people there and watching it. So it's sort of a well-known fact, but not confirmed, that if you put a link in a post that also has a video, Facebook won't give you as much reach as you would if you didn't have that link in there.
Oh yeah, if I like I was just putting on YouTube and then linking, but now I've got to upload to Facebook, otherwise I get nothing.
Yeah. So it's a challenge of balancing that, but also So my thing about deep and shallow metrics. So the metrics that the social platforms expose to you are the ones that really help them, because they want to use you to keep people on their platforms. So like likes are a good example. So, but as a coach on social media, you need to think more about what is the benefit to you and to your audience. So it's really easy to like something on Facebook. Like, I don't know how many things I like a day. It's a lot. But that doesn't really mean that it's made much difference to my life or that I'm going to take any action. So as a business, ultimately you need your audience to take some action based on your social media if you want them to ever be a customer. But first you need to offer a lot of value to them. So there's a lot of social media posts that will get a lot of likes, but they don't really offer any real value to the audience. So people are not going to remember it or think about it. So
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook, they're just kind of an annoyance to me.
yeah,
Like, but at the same time, almost every coaching client that has come to me through Instagram, and it's usually like a direct message of like, hey, you know, can we work together or something? Or they'll, click through and they say they found me on Instagram or something like that. So I was like, well, I guess what I need to do is focus a lot of my time on Instagram. So I did that, and I still do, but it's hard to put a value on like what my Instagram page actually is. So if someone clicks on it, they might see, I have a fair number of followers, but then I get hardly any likes on a photo. And sometimes I'm like, well, maybe my Instagram really does suck. But actually, if it is bringing me business, then maybe it's the numbers that I'm looking at aren't the most important thing.
yeah. That's right. And the like anything, the really valuable ones are quite hard to measure. But it's those things that you're talking about. People actually contacting you through it are the important things that you've made. But first, you need to make an impact. Like, you need to make a real impact on someone's life somehow. So the more value you can add into your social media, the better. So I'm not saying that likes aren't important. So the more likes, the better. But the important thing is not to optimize for likes. So you don't create a post that because it'll get more likes. You create a post will provide more value, and then that will result in likes. And the likes is just like a side effect of the value that you've created. I was listening to a podcast recently where a guy was talking about this thing specifically, and he wrote a blog post, posted it on social media. The blog post required people to download something and do something every day for 30 days to help improve their life. And the post on social media got like about 10 likes or something, but 800 people downloaded the thing and completed the 30-day task. So that's
Wow.
an example of
Yeah.
how something that's not optimized for likes, but is optimized for people to take action in the real world, is far more valuable.
What I think about in that situation is I'm like, well, what about the person that's scrolling past this post and they're like, okay, maybe I'll click on this, but actually it only has 10 likes, so maybe it's not that cool, so I'm just going to keep scrolling past. So I wonder like how many opportunities are missed because of that. Because I would imagine myself doing that. Like, oh, only 10
Yeah,
likes. I might scroll past.
yeah, maybe. And that's probably why, because I think, is it Facebook or
Instagram.
Instagram? Yeah, have talked about removing the like removing the like number from.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
So they have also realized that people are optimizing for likes, which means although it's easy to like, the actual real quality of the posts will go down. Um, so the value people get from them. So yeah, it's. I think these are things that just evolve over time, and because it's like people start using. Initially, it's like you post something good and someone likes it, and then people start having creating tactics to get the metrics, to hack the metrics. So then it turns out that the content suffers. So these platforms are constantly having to evolve to try and keep the quality high. So I always say, whenever you post something, just forget about thinking about likes or whatever, and just think about what's in it. What's the value? What is the value I'm creating for my audience with this? Is this going to be useful to them? Could this possibly make their life better? And then I think if you do that, I think you're safe.
Yeah, that was something initially I thought, well, I've got to be present. I'm going to be more present on social media. So just started putting up stuff, photos mainly, because that's that's where we're at the moment. And then I was like, started to notice the trend of like when I was offering value or actual real content,
Yeah.
something about my race or an experience I had had with an athlete, or just generally, hey, you should try this. It got so much more engagement. Whereas there was like really, really cool photos, and that's all they were. And people are beyond that now to go,
Yeah.
oh yeah, cool photo. Like it might get lots of likes, but I wasn't getting comments or clicks or people checking out my website.
Yep. So that's when those numbers can be dangerous. Like people go after a bigger following. Say a big following of 10,000 unengaged people is nowhere near as good as a following of 1,000 engaged people. So the things that you can do to get 10,000 followers can be different than what you can get to get 1,000. So the higher number isn't necessarily better, especially on the follower count.
Yeah. It's a big game. Like initially we started doing these live on Facebook, and of course live video attracts. Facebook really likes that because it keeps you in their platform,
Yeah.
But then it just ended up being too much of a logistical hassle.
Well, plus we found that if we didn't do it live, we actually could, give a better product as well.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those other things when it comes along for the first time. It's new and unique, and people get excited about it. But then, like you say, it's actually really hard to produce something that's really good. If you're doing it live, as opposed to being able to, even if it's just a little bit of editing, cutting stuff out. So
I think like social media has only been around for, I don't know, not that long, 15 years. I think everyone's still trying to figure it out.
yeah, and it'll evolve and change, and then soon it'll just be called media, and because it's
getting there now, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's like social media isn't this magical. People talk about it as a thing so much now, but really it's just new channels to reach people, and I think that's where it'll end up going. Where there's just another way to communicate.
Yeah, well, you look at YouTube's one. I've really noticed. Initially, it was just a whole bunch of hoary videos that some went viral, and it was just nuts. There's people dropping Mentos and like Diet Cokes, and people singing random songs. And now, how many viral videos do you see that aren't like super well produced? It's all channels. there's a few channels that I follow that are producing really, really good content, sometimes half an hour in length. Very well updated news segments. There's not a lot of random stuff you come across like you used to.
Yeah, and I think that's the novelty factor wearing off, where it wasn't, necessarily about the content, but now it's coming back. Everyone's realizing that it's actually the content that makes the difference, and the content is the value. And and again, it always comes back to problems to be solved. What problems are you solving by creating this content, and then how are you helping people?
So how do you think people find TrainingTilt? Like, are they finding it on social media, or how
So
are
I
they
do
coming across it?
Yeah, so I do some paid ads, but I spend all my money on trying to distribute my content. So there's hardly any of my ads running that are actually promoting the products and services. So I just try and think about my target audience and what problems they are having, and trying to talk to them about those problems with the knowledge that I have around marketing and social media, and then just attracting them to the site. And then if they see it and resonate with it, then I hope that they will sign up. And then so that's my way to get traffic to my site. And then a lot of my signups come through referrals, or they see another coach using it, and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, well, that's how I found it, because Will was kind of raving about it. He's like, you got to check this out. You got to check this out. He signed me up on his own platform. And yeah, and then I was like, oh, well, this really makes sense. Like, because I didn't get an ad or anything. I hadn't seen anything online.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what we talked. Like, this is part of the information issue. Like, Matt's like one of your prime candidates, and even just yesterday, he's like, "Oh, I don't even like your page,"
yeah,
and he hadn't seen any of your content. He's like, "Wow, look at all of this," and for
yeah.
some reason, you haven't been able to reach him.
Yeah, and the distribution's really hard, and it's just because it's so easy to get stuff out there that it's like it's a big ocean worth of content, and it's really hard to break through. And if you don't have a big budget, that can be hard. And then because it's endurance sports, are actually quite a niche, so targeting is actually pretty hard. So when you create ads in Facebook or something, you choose your target market and stuff, and then everyone's talking about how amazing the Facebook algorithm is and how come they can't protect their users so much by using the algorithm or whatever. But it's actually not that amazing. It's good for targeting, but it's really hard to narrow down to try and show my ads to all of the endurance coaches in the world is actually really hard. So yeah, but it's just, I think sooner or later, the more and more people are using it, the referrals become more people hear about it, and the more you get seen. And then I think I'm hoping that you reach like a tipping point where more and more people, you gain more momentum and more people know about you. And then it becomes much easier to distribute your content. We have more people sharing. But I think it just takes time to build that up.
Yeah. So initially, were you better off putting your effort into referrals than the social media?
Yeah, I think so. And then you should try and do stuff that like can accelerate referrals as well, like getting some of your clients to do testimonials and stuff, and then you can promote those posts a little bit more, like because some people will refer you off their own back, but then others may not even think about it. So one thing you do is just ask. ask your customers if they're ever talking to someone who's interested, please mention me. Some people just don't think about it. So yeah, but the power of the referral is really good. But I think you can't just rely on that alone if you want to scale your business. I think it's fine if you're just going to do one-on-one coaching. I think referrals will always be enough.
Yeah.
But if you want to go a bit further than that, you can't rely on it. That'll always be good and powerful, but you need to do a little bit more.
So what's next for TrainingTilt, and what's next for Cam Langsford?
Deep.
Yeah, so next for TrainingTilt, I'm just I want to focus more on helping my customers be more successful. So, creating an online business is actually really hard. And as much as I've created the tools to make it easier, I mean, you guys know that it's still a lot of work to get going. So I just want to make things gradually easier and easier to do, to get going, to get people through the tough. I think it's like 2 to 3 months where things seem overwhelming because there's so much to do. Help people get through that so they can become successful, and then they'll be okay on their own. So even now, I'm focusing more time on just helping people one-on-one and not really worrying about, because my product now starts at $47 a month. But so if I had one Skype call with a coach, that would pretty much wipe out the profit for the month. But I think of it, but I'm more than happy to do that because I'm thinking about it as long-term, having a coach, using the platform, for the foreseeable future, like as long as their business is going. So that lifetime value is where it's really important to me. So that's what I'm focusing on at the moment, helping people become successful. And me personally, I'd quite like to get back into some more serious training, maybe do an Ironman next year. And then also I'd like to do the Molokai surf ski race in Hawaii. That would be fun. So I'm working towards that. I'm also on the wait list for the Coast to Coast next year. So I'll do that since I'm doing a bit of paddling in February if I can get signed up. Sold out pretty quickly this year. So I'm hoping that I'll make it and be able to do that.
Cool. That sounds pretty fun.
Well, I think that's pretty much everything. There's a very comprehensive interview. I think, Matt,
yeah,
any other questions your end?
I think that was great. Thanks for coming on, Cam. That was awesome.
No, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And I'll put a link in the description to Cam's site. So any coaches out there, you guys can check it out. Otherwise, you can jump on my site and see what the finished product looks like.
Yeah, sounds good. And if you come to the website, there's a little chat box there. If you ask me a question or say hi, I'll be on the other side of that. Maybe not straight away, depending on what time it is. But yep. So I guess the thing that I really enjoy about my business is that I know almost all of my customers and try to build personal relationships with them, which you probably won't get with a bigger business.
Yeah, cool. All right, Cam, well, you have a good day.
Will do. You too.
All right, see ya.
All right, cheers.
Bye, Cam.
Bye.